What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Filling in the Gaps. How's it going, everybody? Welcome. Let me make sure I give a shout out to everybody that was here. Not a Lawyer podcast, welcome. Denise, Felicia's here. Tiffany, Jazzy, oops, y'all can hear Discord in the background. Let me fix that really quick. What's up, everybody? Welcome. How is it going? You guys, we're streaming right now on YouTube. We're streaming on X. We're streaming on my second channel that I made, Filling in the Gaps News. So FITG News. If you guys see that in the comments, just know that it's the second channel streaming. So we're also streaming in vertical and horizontal. So if you guys don't like the view, make sure you head on over to the page and pick your favorite view, I guess. But anyways, we're going to be talking about Aysia Collins decided that it's time for her to speak out. And I'm curious, put a 1 in the chat if you guys have seen this already or if you guys have not, because we're going to be watching it. So we've got some stuff to talk about. How is everybody doing? Leah's in the house. Mama T's here. Jazzy's here. What up, Jazz? What's up, Sid? True Crime Nat, I see you. What up, Carenza? UK's in the house. We got France in the house. Half of it. I know. I'll be honest with you guys. I've watched this twice now, and a large portion of this, she's really going on a rant in regards to a party that she was at, and apparently she got kicked out of it because of some old friends. So if you guys want to watch the whole video, put a 7 in the chat. If you guys want to skip to the part where she just talks about David and her situation, put a 3 in the chat. So 7 if you guys want to watch it all. Put a 3 if you want to just jump to the David stuff. A 7? I see a 7. Okay. You screen recorded it? I would have tried that. I would have tried, but I get too many damn notifications. Oh my lord, we're split. We got 3s and 7s. I gotta remember which one is which. Hold on. We're like 50-50, you guys. 3-7 here for it all. Okay, Felicia. Okay. Let me just go ahead and guess we can put on the comments too. Well, I guess we're just going to play it all then. And then if we have some time, Nancy Grace put out a video, so maybe we can react to the whole thing. I don't know. We'll see. I think it was a pretty good episode because it does address the leaks that they're talking about, the potential leaks coming from the ME's office and how this could potentially destroy the entire case. And obviously, for all of you guys that are watching here, the one thing that we hope does not happen is that this case gets torpedoed and thrown down the drain and risk having this case actually dropped, right? So let me go ahead and pull up the Aysia video. We're going to get right into it really quick, you guys. Let me bring this up. Stop sharing this, and then I got to start sharing that. We got a whole bunch of stuff. So you guys, the volume on this video might be a little low, but I'm going to blast this as much as I can. So then that way we can get right into it. Oh, hello, Aysia. How's it going? All right, you guys. So this is Aysia addressing, I guess, the reason why she got kicked out of a party. And she blames it all on Jason Lewine. So as you guys know, that Jason Lewine has been talked about pretty much, not too much in this case, but, he was one of the first people to come out when the David news came out, and he spoke, I guess, on David's team in support of David, saying that, he wasn't guilty. He didn't do anything. And then a few days later kind of took a few steps back and tried to pull his name out of the mix and said, you know what, I made a mistake. I don't support him, or whatever. So that, and then he's also the ex-boyfriend of Sakura, the mean girl that Aysia called. Yeah, called her a bitch, actually, right? You guys remember that when she did her live stream the other time? Called Sakura a mean girl, called her a biatch. Yeah, that was her. Shout out to Nikki celebrating 2 months as a member. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Abraham, what's going on? All right, you guys. So here we got Aysia Collins. She's about to speak her mind. Now, I will say, you guys, for the very first half of this video, she does just kind of ramble on about this party that she got kicked out of, and it's not really until halfway does she talk about you know, the whole David stuff. But you guys wanted to watch it also. Let's get right into it.
Lord.
Now, I hope you guys can hear because this is the loudest that I can get it to go.
All right. I'm probably going to have the chat box open for this one. To be honest, oh, wait. This is going to be one of those streams because I don't know if y'all can tell, but I'm not exactly in the best mood.
She looks rough. I don't know. She looks like she's been going through it.
I'll give it a second because I'm waiting on someone to join because we have to talk about some shit.
Probably Zerks, right? Like the last time.
Yeah. All right. So, unfortunately, I gotta get started talking about some stuff that I don't want to talk about. I don't really care if and I'm gonna try not to cry when I talk about this situation, but it's honestly hell. Okay. So let's get into it. Last night I attended a streamer party.
Nikki, you mean this one right here?
I don't know the name. I know some of the people that are part of the group.
Nobody cares, Aysia.
Are like really good people. So I'm gonna try and figure out the name because obviously I have to be specific here. It was the OSCS party. The only person I know from that group is Arky because I only know him because when I came there, they were really, really nice. They were super nice to me, and I really appreciate like their hospitality, all like talking to me, not making me feel weird or anything. But basically when I was there, keep in mind when I go to a party, I'm only going to go somewhere where I am wanted. I don't go out too often anymore. I've just been more to myself, especially like with all like the crazy stuff that's been going on, which I'm going to get into that as well. But long story short, my friends were going to this party. They told me about it. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll join you guys. I didn't really think it was that deep. I don't even really feel like I have beef with anyone.
Welcome, so Renegade. Welcome.
I request to get on the list for this party. I get on the list, which is what's super confusing. Like I'm on the list for this party.
All right, you guys, I do have to pause for a second and just we're gonna kind of pause, make commentary, and we'll kind of chat. But I do want to warn you guys, this is a very boring video. This girl is, I don't know. This girl has been through so much, as she mentions, but I want you guys to know that this is probably going to be like fingernails on a chalkboard. So bear with it, you guys. Bear with it.
Right. So whoever's running the party on Partyful has to accept my name and put me on the list in order for me to go to this party, right? So I'm on the list. I link up with my friends, and then we pull up to the party. I'm not streaming. I'm not doing anything like fucked up or anything. I'm just chilling in a corner. I'm hanging out with my friends. I just feel weird tension because when I walk in, I notice like Jason, the Ween, kind of staring at me. And if you guys know any history with me and Jason, we don't have...
You guys are savage in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you guys just want to skip on over. Put a 2 if we're going to let it roll. Because this is really hurting my ears.
any issues
Let me
with
know.
each other, really. I think he feels a type of way. I don't know, maybe because of the fact that we both used to be friends with David, and that's like such a touchy subject.
Right,
Or the fact
Abraham,
that,
land
like,
that plane.
I'm not friends with Sakura because Sakura stopped being friends with me because of the David situation, right? So
All right, you guys, due to popular demand, you guys have asked that we skip on over. And you guys, look, you guys are really not missing anything. I swear to God. All she talks about is Jason Lewin got her kicked out of a party. There's a few videos that kind of show the interaction they had. I think it was pretty funny though. You can see Jason Lewin is just not having it. I've given you everything that you need to know about it. That's pretty much it. Leah, thank you for the 199 super chat. I appreciate you. Shout out to Flo and y'all in the comments. All right, we're skipping ahead. I'm sorry, you guys. You guys are not missing out on much. You guys know I wouldn't lie to you guys. But we are gonna jump ahead because I don't want y'all to go away yet. So here.
Same thing to him. Same thing with Sakura. So I don't understand why he went out of his way, like, to try and get me kicked out of a place. So this is what happened. So
he might have. I don't know. If he did, God bless his soul.
He's texting like the owners and stuff. Even the people he was texting were confused. They were like, "Why are you trying to get her kicked out?" Because I'm not doing anything, right? So now I'm at a party. I'm with like 8 of my friends, maybe like 6 of them, and everyone's kind of confused. They're like, why is security looking for you? I'm like, I don't know. It puts me in also a very awkward position in front of so many people that are live streaming, because now it makes me look like I'm this terrible, horrible person when I'm not doing anything. And I've been
Thank you, Renegade. So welcome.
And so I just decided, like, I started crying, like, being transparent. I started crying in front of my friends. I'm not a big crier. But, you know, I just got emotional because everyone wants to blame everyone but David.
Here we go, you guys. All right. So here is where she starts to open up and discuss, you know, the David situation. And here she basically says everybody is blaming everybody else except for the man that is responsible, right? And she claims, right, that the only person responsible here is David.
Why are we blaming Jason? Why are we blaming Sakura? Why are we blaming me? Why are we blaming all of these people except for the person we're supposed to be having eyes on? Why are we taking eyes away from what we're really supposed to be focusing on?
I think that's because she's been there from day one, right? I mean, the last I remember, at least as close to the situation, right, from the time that Celeste Rivas Hernandez's body was discovered in the front trunk, was that she was on tour with him, right? So, come on now, Aysia, like, are you for reals?
We're supposed to be trying to get this girl justice, and there's the dumbest headlines I've ever seen. Like, I don't even know what the fuck to do anymore. But anyways, I left the fucking party. Pre-recorded. This isn't pre-recorded. I'm literally chilling in my fucking room. But anyways, like, I just left before security kicked me out because I knew then it was gonna look really bad to a bunch of people that were there. So then
and Sydney, you're right? No one is actually blaming her, but I think what they want to know is her level of involvement with David, and I mean, quite honestly, like her level of involvement with Celeste, because at the end of the day, she's confessed that she's met Celeste Rivas once, but there seems to be some sort of floating evidence that proves otherwise. And I'm specifically talking about that New Year's Eve night that was at David's house where Celeste is supposedly in the photo, which I'll show you guys in a bit. How many times has she actually met? But not only that, there's a post out there that says, can you confirm that she's 13 and blah, 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 blah. Well, she'll get into it. So
just sent Jason a text to which, you know, it's like, you know, we're so bad with each other, yet I have his contact and his number. Like we have text messages. Like it's just so annoying. But I just, long story short, I sent him like a paragraph and I was basically saying like, I'm super disappointed about the way that you handled things tonight. Like I'm honestly embarrassed. I'm pissed off. Like you made me cry in front of my friends. Like I'm not uncomfortable with the way that you handled things. And it's the fact that he can just do that
right?
because
Renegade,
he's
I
a
see
bigger
that.
creator than me. Obviously, the other guys that are in that house probably feel inferior or whatever, but it wasn't even his party. I got accepted on this list just like everyone else. I was having fun with my friends just like everyone else, and I was not bothering him. I would totally understand trying to get me kicked out if I was bothering you, but I wasn't bothering him. It's just all super shitty.
There goes the donation.
And then a lot of people saying like, oh, but you know, like she's friends with Bree, that's why she's there, she's friends with Bree. I thought I was friends with Bree. I texted her too. She said that she unfollowed me to protect her peace and stuff like that. And you know what? I get it. I feel like she doesn't want to be linked to everything going on. And I don't feel like people should be attacking her for the stuff that is going on. Like, that's not fair.
Damn, she got 3 donations so far,
it's
you
not
guys.
fair to anyone. Like,
she's popular.
I don't know how many times I have to come online and say that David blindsided all of his friends. All of us. Like, we're all just a little fucking confused. Because he portrayed himself to be this.
I'm curious what she means by blindsided. Was she blindsided that David was a schmurderer or David was a PDF file? Because I'm trying to understand like what part was blindsiding, because if okay, maybe for the schmurderer part, I understand, but for the PDF part, there's absolutely no way you guys can say you guys were blindsided by that, right? Because an Instagram DM with the missing girls poster, the multiple IDs that David showed you, like nobody batted an eye. Yeah, Asia, you got me funked up.
Angel of a person, this great friend. So we're all like, what the fuck? I think we're all a little scared. I think when you deal with a person who's like a genuine psychopath for the first time.
Hold on, let me make sure I shout out to everybody. I'm the boss. Thank you for the $9.99 super chat. Thank you, Flojo, for all your coverage. I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm the boss. And Not a Lawyer Podcast, $4.99 super chat, just for Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Thank you for your coverage, Flo. I appreciate you. Thank you guys for being here. It is a beautiful Saturday afternoon here in Los Angeles. So, you know, I wanted to come hang out with you guys. So thank you guys for being here.
I mean, like an actual psychopath.
Hey, but look, we got more donations than Asia has so far. So, you know, we're doing something right, you guys. We're doing something right. Shout out to Asia, though.
You're fucking lost because you're like, what the hell just happened? I would have never thought in a million years he would do something like that. But that's the thing. That's like the common denominator between all of these fucking crazy ass people is you never fucking know what they're capable of because they would never show you that side of them. And like, people are like, oh, how is it that you just couldn't tell? What are you talking about? How could I not tell? When you're, for instance, like,
I agree with you, Cammy.
Dating someone, right? God, I never knew he was a cheater. Like, I can't believe he cheated on me. Or like when you're friends with someone and they stab you in the back and you're like, damn, I never thought they were capable of that. You'll never know what a person is capable of until they show you. That's just kind of how it works.
He did show you. He showed you multiple IDs of Celeste, but that was your responsibility to kind of question things, right? But my ultimate question too was, and she'll get into this. Maybe she won't go into too much detail, but my question is when you received that DM and you found out that Celeste was 13 years old, and then you decided to go to David to say, you need to tell me what's going on, whatever. Like, you shouldn't have went to David in the first place. You should have went to Celeste. Now, granted that you may have met her once by that time or after that time, right? I think by the time you received that DM, you had already known who Celeste was. So there's no denying that. But why couldn't you have just gone to Celeste to verify for yourself? If you know that your friend is possibly a PDF, I mean, shit, you still hung out with him. You were on tour with him. So I don't know. I don't know what goes on in that brain.
I don't want there to be hate towards Jason, Sakura, Bree, any of the guys who live in the house at that party yesterday. I don't want there to be hate on any of those people, especially regarding like the David shit. I'm coming on here to talk to you about this horrible experience that happened last night. I'm just tired of people always wanting to blame the woman. Like, it's so much easier to blame girls in instances. It's so much easier
Oh my God.
bully people who have like also like a smaller following. Like, I don't really have a big following. It's never really been about that. I've always just been having fun on social media. It's so hard to talk about this shit.
Like, maybe you should get more followers from this. I don't know.
It's just a place for everyone to get fucking bullied like shit. Like, I had so much fun when I first started out streaming, and then I started streaming with bigger people, and I realized exactly how fucked up the streamer community is. Like, I remember I was scrolling on
again about me,
and I saw, I think it was Yana who popped up, and I remember like every video I've seen of her, like, she seems really nice, she seems really cool, right? And people in the comments were like, oh, she acts like this, oh my God. And I was like, are we serious, bro? She is like the biggest ball of sunshine that the streaming community has right now. Like, and people still want to keep bullying, keep bringing people down. Like, I'll just never understand it. And that's why, like, it's really hard for me to even want to stream anymore. Like, I took a fat hiatus, and like, I get you guys might not care like if I stream or not. I get it. It's more for me. Like, I want to have fun with my community. Like, I don't know, bro. And like, a lot of this shit, like, it's very easy to blame someone, right? I understand that there's really high feelings towards everything going on, which is super valid. Like, I want the answers too. I really do. But especially with investigators and stuff like that, we can't rush their process. We can't. I don't know. There's so much like, there's so much AI bullshit going on.
What's AI? I never under. What is she talking about?
I don't know. Why did I pre-record? Why do you guys think this is pre-recorded? I've said like twice this is not pre-recorded. I'm just talking to you guys.
You know what? I don't know. I think
it's really.
What is the purpose here, right? I don't understand either. Is it sympathy? It possibly could be, right? I mean, I don't know if she's going to get it. Now, I do want to say, right, that when it comes to the actual death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, I don't think she had anything to do with it. I really don't. I think, you know, the person who is responsible for this is already in custody. But the whole thing about knowing Celeste, I think she's downplaying because she doesn't want to be known as a person who didn't do anything. And I think she just kind of was okay with it, and that goes for a lot of people that were probably in his inner circle, but it doesn't mean, you know, that it's okay. And to be honest with you, she had an opportunity to speak up a long time ago, and I don't know if I don't know how I feel about her claims of knowing Celeste or not knowing Celeste or only meeting her once, but I don't know. I don't know if Aysia will ever have a chance to fix her reputation. Maybe she will, right? But we're gonna have to wait until after this trial is over for her to come out and say everything. And I get it, right? Because there's currently an active investigation. This case is barely going to the preliminary hearing. But I don't know. You guys think that she'll have a chance to kind of rebound from this and recover? She may actually have some really good information that we'd want, that we for sure are going to want to hear, right? But my question is to you guys in the chat is she going to have the opportunity to recover from this, right? Because I think, you know, as you guys have mentioned, she's just guilty by association. The fact that she was, I'm not going to say a groupie, maybe she was a groupie, the assistant on his tour, the fashion designer, whatever, his stylist is what she calls it. She was associated with him until the very last day, right?
That we speak on this stuff. I will say though, there is one thing I do definitely want to
Alicia,
talk
damn.
about with the David situation. Which this is super difficult to speak about because I don't know what I'm allowed to talk about. The trial hasn't happened yet.
I wonder if she has a lawyer too, because if she does have a lawyer, I wonder if they would just advise against, you know, her coming on live and telling her, you know, Aysia, this is probably not the smartest thing to do. You should probably just shut up. You're probably a little butthurt from the party, which has nothing to do with this case. Although you might think it does, it really has nothing to do with this case. So let me just go on Twitch and talk about the case and tell everybody, I don't know how much I can talk about, but I'll say something.
That's one thing that is a really big deal. The trial has not started yet. I'm trying to be respectful. I was on the tour with David.
Yes, you were.
I have been compliant with investigators, police.
Okay, hold on. She did say something here that I think is the biggest takeaway from this whole entire video, is the fact that she has been cooperative with law enforcement and the DA's office. So one can assume by her statement is that she may have participated in this secretive grand jury, right? That's the only thing that I myself can take away from this video. But I want you guys to let me know what you guys take away in the chat.
And everyone who has asked things of me. I've even put out a statement to the public.
That was on Reddit.
On Reddit.
Yep.
After I was getting a lot of death threats and harassment towards me and my family. So I don't know what more you guys want me to do. I've raised so much awareness about Celeste.
You're right. You're right.
And I feel for her and her family so fucking much. I'm trying not to fucking cry here because obviously, like, you know, I think the worst thing about it is people like are not taking this shit serious. A little girl was killed. We need to take this serious. I just wish people would actually use their brains when it comes to stuff like this. Stop making fake AI evidence. Stop bringing people into this. I have been
deep diving on this case since day one. I am very curious to know what invented AI evidence is. She's trying so hard not to cry, but she probably should have just like full on balled out. You know, maybe we would have felt a little bit. I don't know. Not me. Maybe you guys might have, but I don't know. Cry or not, I don't know. I don't know.
Nothing to do with this. Like, oh my God. Like, what more can I fucking say, bro? Like, I'm trying to.
You can just say David is guilty. I don't know.
I'm trying to talk about things. I'm trying to be straightforward. But this is all just like, this is fucking hell. This situation is hell, and hell for everyone who had to be around that dude.
Right, T.
Like, I don't know, bro. Oh yeah, and then okay, that's something I can't talk to you guys about. Okay.
Oh, what can you talk to us about?
There's a
all right, you guys. This is the part where she's going to address the message that she got in her DMs on Instagram. So pay attention, you guys.
Shot going around of me texting someone in 2024, right? And it's like this random girl that I'm not even close with. I think I worked with her one time, and that's why we were mutuals. So I can actually break down exactly what happened there because everyone's a little confused. I didn't feel like I was able to talk about.
That's a good question, Flo. Do you think the 4th of July stream and what was said in the background was fake Celeste's AI? You know what? I don't know. I don't think so, because the way that the audio was captured, you know, it really was made to sound like other people were in another room. And I think, you know, by the way the video took place, I can't help but think that that was real. But I don't know if the words that were actually said versus the transcript that was put out is actually real. So it's hard to say. I don't think it is AI though.
This because I didn't know what was legally acceptable, or if I talked about something, it was like tampering with evidence. You know what I mean? But anyways, I texted this girl because I see this, you know, the missing poster, and I'm like, yo, that's my friend's girlfriend, because I knew David was dating this girl. That's like
this girl. Come on, don't act like you don't know who she was.
That's common knowledge, right? So I respond back, and on the missing poster, unfortunately, what people don't understand is you can't see the screenshot that that girl had posted. You couldn't see her age. You couldn't see really much info. So that's why I had responded, and I was like, hey, like, I was genuinely just concerned for her. I was like, hey, this is my friend's girlfriend. Like, you know, what's going on? And then she goes, can you confirm she's 13? Of course, I go, what the fuck? Okay, because obviously that's a big thing to say. And David used to be my homie. So I'm like, oh, nah, my close homie's fucking with a minor? Hell no, I don't fuck with that shit. So immediately I go to David. And I'm like, hey, this girl's saying that you're fucking with a fucking 13-year-old. You need to explain yourself.
Why the fuck you lying?
That's all I have to say. All right, back to the video.
He was like, dude, that's not even true. Like, she's like 19. I was like, no, she's not. She said she's 13. Like, show me proof. And you know what? He showed me proof. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna back off. I feel like I'm harassing my friend. Obviously, now that's a little too much. And obviously there was more conversation than that. I can't get into every single detail for legal reasons.
Okay, so apparently, I'm just gonna assume here that whatever she had mentioned has been probably taken into evidence for legal reasons, I guess you can say.
But I didn't just go, oh, hey, is your friend 13? And he went, no. And I was like, oh, okay, la 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 la. Like, I wasn't being stupid. I was like, no, show me proof. Okay? Like, I need to see actual evidence because I think you're fucking with a minor. And obviously,
but I mean, like you think about it though, if you've met Celeste, right? Because in all of the photos that we have seen, there has not been one. Okay, maybe one photo. Now, I couldn't even say one because I don't even think she looked like she was older than 18. I do think that she looked older, and that's that photo where there was like a double head. That's the photo that I think she's looked the oldest, but I definitely don't think that she looked of age, right? So had you met Celeste multiple times, like how in the hell did you not have that conversation with her, right? And gone the extra step to kind of figure out for yourself, or just simple fucking Google search, right? Like a missing poster, like you're just gonna take his word? I don't know. Maybe she just needed a job at the time, right? I'm sure she was getting paid. Maybe the money was good at the time.
My friend tells me, he's like, no, I'm not. Shows me proof that he is not. And I harass him more. And he's like, dude, like, chill the fuck out. Like, manipulated the fuck out of me, to be honest. I was like, okay, like, honestly, I'm tripping. Geez, okay, I'm a layoff. You know what I mean?
And we'll take a look at the flyer in a bit as soon as this video is done, because I don't remember exactly what that flyer looks like. So we'll see if there's a number on it. I know for sure it didn't include her age.
So that's pretty much the explanation with the screenshot. I know a lot of people have been wanting me to talk about it, but the sad thing about the internet is I could give you guys all the information in the world. Y'all still will not believe me. It really doesn't matter what I say. People
and the one thing that we have to understand, and we have to be, or the one thing that we have to accept, right? Maybe we don't have to understand it, but the one thing that we do have to accept is the internet is the internet, and the internet will forever be undefeated, right? Thank you, Renegade, for the $2 super chat. This violin thing is just hilarious, right? Sid, you're wild. You're wild. The internet is forever, right? And the only way that you can get less attention on yourself is just to stay off of the internet, right? But you couldn't do it in this case. You couldn't do it during your last live. You got kicked out of a party, so you decided you want to talk about it. And we'll sprinkle a little bit of Celeste in there so, you know, people won't hate me as much. But I think, in fact, you're getting the complete opposite effect, right? I think, Aysia, you just need to, you don't need to stay inside, but just stay off of the internet.
It's not going to believe me. And that's just how it is. And no, like, I can't like explain to you guys what he showed me. I can't prove things to you guys, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't matter if I give you guys the answers. The internet's always going to spin things and always going to do this shit to me.
I can name at least 2 instances where Aysia and Celeste were in the same place, and that was on New Year's Eve, right? That was at with David in his mansion, and then there was the show. What's the location, you guys? I can't remember the location off the top. Somebody in the comments knows for sure, but the one where Celeste was with the family. Somebody knows. Who knows? Somebody tell me in the chat. Why can't I remember? But Celeste was there. Aysia was there. Does nobody know? Oh, there's an episode. Check out this episode at 6 minutes and 20 seconds. Aysia talks about not having time to get her nails done for the album release party. Ooh, no way. This was literally the day after then, huh? Oh, you have to send me that. The Fonda Theater. Thank you so much, T. At the Fonda Theater, we know Aysia was there, right? Because they have those little photo booth photos where everybody is in the photo except for Celeste, right? Even David's mom is in those photos, but where's Celeste? We know that she was there because she was sitting, you know, on the second floor balcony. That was when she was wearing the pink pants and the black sweater. So there's 2 instances there. How many other times could you have met this 14-year-old girl? I don't know. Sounds like a lot to me.
I don't know. I'm even like, I'm looking at the chat right now, and even like, yeah, see, it's like people literally just attacking me. But for sure, bro. I have not protected anyone.
Thank you.
Investigators wanted to speak to me. I told them everything I knew because I just wanted to, whatever information I can give, I just wanted to help. But yeah, I mean, people are saying that I'm protecting certain people the very moment I found out about this shit. I mean, like, even on tour, when this stuff happened, I immediately flew away from that tour. Like, I've just been terrified ever since. I took like a fat hiatus, obviously, from socials because.
Okay, now we'll just kind of put myself in her situation though, right? If she is telling the truth, and you know, I wanna believe what she is saying, but let's kind of remove ourselves from the situation. Just kind of put ourselves in her shoes. Imagine being friends with this person, right? Because I do believe her at this point, right? When she found out, she freaked out. Can you imagine just being friends with somebody? You're on tour with them literally at this moment, and you find out that there's a 14-year-old girl found in the front trunk of your friend's Tesla, and you're currently on tour with this person. How would that situation make you feel? Right now let's just kind of remove ourselves from the whole situation, the way we feel about Aysia currently, but like, honestly, how would that make you feel knowing that you're on tour with this potential suspect, and then the fact that you may even know who this victim actually is? Now, granted, this happened September, right? So you hadn't seen this girl from April, May, June, July, August, September, about 6 months. So, and then just to kind of think, like, what if y'all were really hooking up too, right? You were hooking up with this person. She probably freaked out too, and probably thought, like, this could have been me.
Is honestly crazy. I'll probably be taking another break from socials due to the way that this shit's happening.
I am curious. I am curious to know what David actually told her. You know, and I think once this trial is all done, and hopefully it doesn't get dropped, I know Aysia is going to come out and, you know, speak her piece. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what other information that she has that we're going to want to know, right? Because again, I mean, just by the way we've been in the chat and just the whole sentiment of this video, like, nobody's really fucking with her, right? So even if she tells us everything that we want to know, are we going to forgive her? I don't know. I don't know about forgiving her, but
anyways, yeah, I know a lot of people are like, oh yeah, maybe just take a break from things. I took a break for like 8 months, but people forget, like, I do enjoy like making content and being on social media, and if I didn't do anything wrong, I don't really understand why I have to. I've been so respectful to the case. Even when I wanted to go on the internet and just start like rambling about everything going on, I stayed quiet for the respect of, you know, information not getting tampered with, and for everything to go directly to investigators. But, you know, like,
right.
Honestly, there's really nothing I can do to
Exactly, Abraham. Exactly.
make things better. All right. Well, yeah.
TCB, what's up, TCB?
Yeah, I don't fuck with streaming. I think this community is way too toxic. You guys are all too young. Jeez.
Aysia, you are young yourself, girl. Shut your ass up. Okay. Anyways, you guys, that was the entire video of Aysia and her. I wouldn't even call it a confession, but this is her speaking out. I'm really over that, but I do want to. Are you guys good if we jump on over to? Let me hold on. Let me show this, right, because we do have to talk about this as well. Where is it? Let's go to this. I'll show you guys this. So this is the video that was on. This is regarding the party that she was at, where actually no, let's show this one first, because this one kind of puts things into perspective. I guess she got really kicked out of a party.
No return policy.
Bro, Jason, don't start.
I'm sorry.
Whoa,
No return.
I
Nah.
thought this was the beater thing.
Hey, the pool, jacuzzi, everything's right there.
But look at his reaction. He is just over. He is over Aysia.
Oh my God. I don't know how this stuff you just said.
You're doing amazing, sweetie.
Oh.
Thank you, TCB. Thank you for your $4.99 super chat.
I'm on the wrist. Look, we got return policy. Sorry.
That was one of them. Here is the other video of. Look at Aysia. Hold on. Watch this video and just look at Asia's face. Look at her big old eyes.
You guys living? No. That's
a great provide right there. Yikes.
What? Oh, yeah. Right now. Oh, yeah.
Do you guys see the chat? You guys see the chat? What you pop? What the hell? What the F? Hell no. Wait. Oh, hell no.
You guys living?
None of them are effing with her. Damn. Aysia is just taking L's left and right, you guys. Let me see. Which ones do we have here? We're gonna jump into our favorite Nancy Grace. We haven't reacted to one of her videos in quite some time. So if you guys are still hanging out, we may not be able to get through all of it, but we'll see. But she talks about how the potential leak for the Emmy's office could be a complete disaster for this entire case. And she actually provides a really good example, which I posted on X the other day. We'll listen to it. When she starts talking to, what's his name? Nemo Romani.
D4VD, aka David Anthony Burke, a morgue leak. That's right.
You're right, Rodney. He actually defended David in the beginning, right? We mentioned that earlier, that he was one of the first people to come out with a video that said David did not do it. He's innocent. But like a day or two later, he immediately backstepped and took it all back. He was like, look, I didn't know all the information, but I do not support him. So
medical examiner's office leak has torpedoed the case against Burke.
Can y'all drop a Nancy Grace emoji in the chat, though?
Celeste Rivas homicide probe. Tonight, will the entire case be dropped because of this? Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us.
He has ripped her apart, and there she sits in this house.
He blames the smell of this child's decomposing body on his bathroom.
Hell yeah, it stinks. This is human remains that are decomposing. A true child, a human being.
Look, the last time I said anything about Nancy Grace and the Melinda Ducketing comment that Neo's mom left under one of our videos, somebody used to be a follower who was grilling me in the chat or in the comments. So I was like, whatever. But I like Nancy Grace. She's hilarious. I would just never be a guest on her show. Nope.
Beard going in. His pants were, kind of, he was doing that look where his pants were dragging below his bum. You could say his orange prison pants.
Do you guys want the closed captioning on or off? You guys let me know. Is it easier for those of you guys in the chat?
He, again, just seems way more comfortable in court and in this setting now in his prison outfit.
Let me understand. Does David Anthony Burke, aka D4VD, actually show his rear end in court? That's from Delight, a true crime on TikTok. With me, an all-star panel. Very quickly to that, Lauren Collins joining us, investigative reporter, LA Magazine, star of Pop Crime TV. Lauren, you've been covering this extensively. Did he actually show up to court showing his rear end?
Well, per the LA Magazine source inside, she did say David appeared very, quote, relaxed, Nancy. So you can kind of use your imagination there a
Nancy's about to grill her. Be like, look, did he show his ass or not?
bit, but his hair was a bit unkempt. He was shackled. And also, our reporter said that Blair Burke appeared to be rubbing his back a bit as they kind of laughed.
Are you
and
kidding me? Blair Burke is out there consoling David. He probably winked back at her, huh?
talked, and he even greeted
Well,
the judge.
I appreciate that, and I'll circle back to that. But my question is, does he literally show his in court?
He had his beard going in. His pants were, you know, kind of, he was doing that look where his pants were dragging below his bum, you could say, his orange prison pants. He, again, just seems way more comfortable in court and in this setting now in his prison outfit.
Again, from the Like True Crime on TikTok, I've got a lot bigger problems with this case than D4VD David Anthony Burke literally showing his rear end in court. But very quickly, to an esteemed expert, trial lawyer, Nima Rahmani, former federal prosecutor turned trial lawyer, former president of the West Coast Trial Lawyers, author of Harvard to hashtag. Nima, thank you for being with us tonight. I've got bigger legal issues, very complex legal issues to discuss with you, but really showing your ASS in court, really? What?
Renegade, thank you for hanging out. I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You have a good rest of your day. Enjoy your Saturday.
What are the defense lawyers for Pete's sake? Can't they say, pull up your pants, idiot?
Well, they should, because your appearance in court matters a lot. So I think this is probably going to be the end of it, Nancy. I think David's going to have to understand that if you're going to appear in court, everything matters. There's a reason everyone from Luigi Mangione to Sean Diddy Combs, they wear the same. Those sweater vests, those neutral colors. You don't want to be showing your rear in court to the jurors. That's disrespectful to the court and a surefire way to get yourself convicted pretty quickly.
Let me see Nima Rahmani, please. Nima, we have a very serious and complex legal issue that has just reared its ugly head.
I think this is where she's about to make that really great example of how this Emmy leak could potentially cause a disastrous outcome for the case.
For the state. Bombshell tonight, torpedo directly into the state's homicide case. And who's going to suffer for this? Celeste, 14-year-old Celeste, found decomposing in the trunk of D4VD David Anthony Burke's Tesla. Okay, her.
Tesla.
Her. Here's the problem. In the last days, we now learn why the LAPD insisted the morgue be slapped with a gag order. A gag order on the morgue. And I got to tell you, Nima, I have deep respect for the medical examiner's office. They are some of the best witnesses ever. Juries love a medical doctor on the stand. They know what they're talking about. And when you get the chief of the ME's office up there on the stand, the prosecutor can just sit down and twiddle their thumbs because they will run with the ball. They're brilliant. I think we can all agree with that. So I naturally sided with the morgue, with the ME's office, when I heard LAPD wants to slap them with a gag order. And now we know why. Hold, Nima, for those of you that don't know what's happening, the giant stink bomb in the courtroom, out to Dave Matt, Crime Stories investigative reporter. Dave, a morgue leak? What?
As we were covering the story in the beginning, there was certain information that was coming out that was very specific about the condition of Celeste Rivas' remains. And talking on and off the air, we were wondering, where is this information coming from? They're not releasing official information, so it has to be somebody is making it up or somebody's leaking it. And now we've got official notification that employees of the office are now going to be required. We're talking 12 different employees, Nancy, being required to sit for recorded interviews as the department investigates itself to determine who in this office is and was leaking information about this 14-year-old child and her remains to somebody in the public.
Okay, you know,
this is a video that I guess was on his TikTok that I hadn't really seen until recently. But that right there, 100% to me just looks and screams Celeste Rivas Hernandez.
Oh, think back. Nima Ramani, one of the best in the business, by the way. Remember at the beginning, we kept getting information that all these horrible things had been done to her body. You know, I'm talking about rendering, disarticulating, a kiddie pool in the garage used
Hey,
for that
Kim, how are
very
you?
purpose.
Welcome.
It was horrific. And then we were told, well, that's not true. That didn't happen. She was not rendered. She was not disarticulated. That's all a lie. Okay. So there was a lot of confusion. Now we know what was happening. According to reports, the medical examiner's office was leaking information. And then the LAPD was quickly saying, that's not true. That's not true. It's all true according to the state. Here's the problem.
Here we go.
This is not for prurient interest to read in the National Enquirer or in a tabloid. This is a murder case of a young girl.
Ruby, thank you so much for becoming a member. Welcome to the Inner Circle. And then Felicia just gifted a membership. Adele just received the gift of membership. Let's go. Thank you so much, Felicia. And thank you so much, Ruby, for joining the Inner Circle. Welcome, 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 welcome.
Medical examiner's office equals the state. And when the state is proven to have done prejudicial wrongdoing to the defendant, the whole case conceivably can be dropped, Nima.
Nancy, it's a huge problem, and Blair Burke and the defense are going to take this and they're going to run with it. And it's not only a problem from a leak or discovery perspective, it's a violation of a court order. So months and months ago, LAPD went to the judge to get an order, a non-dissemination order, so that members of the media, they couldn't get this report subject to a Public Records Act request. And the judge cited.
Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and do that too. We're going to go ahead and gift 5 memberships right now because we can. So if you're in the chat, make sure you have your gifted memberships turned on. So then that way, when I send these out, you can receive one. Cool. I'll do that in like a minute or two. Let me just set it up.
With LAPD and said that this report should not be made public. So now if you have members of the government, and even though it's not the prosecution is responsible for these employees disseminating information unlawfully in violation of a court order to the media and other members of the public. Believe me, the defense is going to have a field day with this. They're going to file an outrageous government conduct motion. They're going to do everything they can to get this case dismissed. There can be terminating sanctions. There can be other types of sanctions for the DA's office. Now, all of a sudden, instead of being on offense, they're in a defensive position, having to explain all this in open court.
Nima, I want to tell you.
And really quick, you guys, this will be the first and only time that I'm going to ask you guys, if you guys haven't already, hit the like button. If you guys haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Afterwards, I'll be posting a link to the Discord where it's a members only Discord. We keep the chat going on and on and on. For those of you guys that are already in the Discord, you guys can vouch for how active we are when it comes to breaking news, new cases, developing stories. I got a team of really dope people pretty much on it. So make sure you guys, become a member and then join the podcast or join the Discord afterwards.
A true story. Okay. I was working on a death penalty case.
Here it is,
and
you guys.
Suddenly I got subpoenaed to testify in court. Okay. It hadn't gone to trial, obviously. I was stunned. Why would the prosecutor get subpoenaed? But of course I showed up. I had no files with me, nothing. I just went, and the entire defense fleet was there. And the judge was looking at me accusingly. I'm like, what? And they said, have you withheld evidence? And I said, no, I handed over my entire file, everything I had, which of course you need to do in a death penalty case, because if you do get a conviction, there's going to be all sorts of appeals. Well, then they handed me some papers I had never seen before. And I went, I've never seen these. Where did they come from? They came out of the homicide file down at APD homicide.
Yikes.
They had unwittingly left out about 20, 30 pages in what they gave me. So when I handed over the whole file, I didn't have those 30 pages. Well, we immediately handed it over, and there was, well over a year I had already left the office and gone to court TV before the case went to trial. So they had plenty of time to digest those 30 or so pages. The point is, even though the investigator truly inadvertently, because the papers really were not that probative, inadvertently left out those pages, it was still my fault. See? And even though
Damn. So, I mean, how do you guys feel about this? You know, because we've waited, how long has it been? Almost 10 months already since everything's taken place, since Celeste was discovered. The fact that the Emmy's office did have a leak, and you know, it's funny because ever since we've heard about this leak and the potential disaster it could cause this case, you know, there's one media outlet that hasn't been reporting on this, and you know, it's TMZ. So I'm curious as to know, why are they so quiet? But how do you guys feel about this potential Emmy leak, and this possibly, you know, could be a cause for this whole entire trial to get thrown out? Now, I've heard, you know, a lot of people have been saying that there's just way too much evidence, you know, for this to be thrown out. But it could potentially, you know, have the DP just removed entirely from conversation. So I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. Obviously, I'm not a legal eagle, right? But so if anybody in the chat is, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
the medical examiner's office leaked, and that's horrific.
Mama T, thank you for celebrating 5 months as a member.
It's
Let's
still
go.
the prosecutor's fault. Ergo, therefore, prosecution misconduct cases can be dropped for that, Nima. Dropped, never to be brought back again if it is dropped with prejudice. Now, please, regular people talk. Explain what I'm talking about.
I guess
With
Nima may explain this a lot better than I can. So let's hear what he has to say.
With prejudice means that it can't be refiled. And Nancy, this happens all the time. It's not just you as prosecutors. We are responsible for the government's conduct. And there was a huge case recently where this was a big issue. Lori Vallow Daybell in Idaho, because of some discovery violations, guess what? The judge struck the death penalty in that case. Chad Daybell, he's on death row. Lori Vallow is going to spend the rest of her life in prison because of some discovery violations there in Idaho. So this is a huge deal. And when you have good defense attorneys, they're going to use every advantage that they can. So if there was a
Julie, what's up,
violation here, and
Julie?
I'm saying if, then the DA's office is going to be in a world of hurt. Obviously, look, not a death penalty case, but that doesn't mean that this case can't be dismissed. There can't be all sorts of other sanctions here. And like you said, the prosecution is always responsible for the conduct of government employees. So they're the ones that are going to be paying the price. And of course, it all comes down to Celeste Rivas
What's up,
and
Joe?
her family. I hope they're not the ones who suffer because of some misconduct of some government employees.
Okay, for everybody's podcast, now that you're here, but you might want to join the regular chat, not the vertical live. People want to know how could this case potentially be dropped with all the leaks coming from the ME's office?
Boys.
Joining us now, and I met him when he was at the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office, which has a huge crush of a caseload. With me, renowned forensic expert Joseph Scott Morgan, professor of
Joe
forensics,
Scott
Jacksonville
Morgan.
State University. He's
God
the
damn.
author of Blood.
Does this guy get a tan or something, or what? Or is it just the new background? Guy look like he's been out in the sun a bit.
Beneath My Feet on Amazon. He is the star of a hit podcast, Body Bags with Joseph
You
Scott
are.
Morgan. But for our purposes, Joe Scott is a death investigator with over 10,000 death investigations under his belt. I don't know how to explain the reverberations that will occur because of the medical examiner's legal term. You may not be familiar with this, F up.
Yeah.
It's worse than an F up because an F up suggests, oh, I screwed up. Sorry.
Hey, Joe, you want to come up here? You want to come up on panel for a bit? You can discuss with us so people in the chat can pick your brain. 'Cause there's a lot of questions about how, you know, this ME leak can affect the case. So I'm curious to know.
No, This was an intentional leak.
Mhm.
Providing lurid, upsetting information about a little girl's rendering of her body, the disarticulation of her body in a kiddie pool. A leak of that volatile, incendiary, upsetting information for what? That leads me.
Okay, First Liberties podcast says if the unauthorized access to the report is being done to manipulate the report, that is a form of evidence tampering. If the evidence is significantly altered, then it's not credible at trial. So this means that the ME's report or the autopsy report that we do have, that we've read, right, multiple times here on the show, could potentially be thrown out as evidence. And that right there is going to be a huge piece. But it's also going to be a huge piece of evidence that the defense is going to tear apart, in my belief, right? So that could be huge.
To the Spectre, did they get paid for the leak? Are they like the anonymous tipsters to the Daily Mail? I mean, people get paid for information. Hey, guys, right here, look at this. Thank you, control room. Here's shots from our friends at TMZ. That is the garage where we believe.
Joe, if you want to come up to the podcast, I put the link in the chat. So come on up if you want.
The kiddie pool was placed for the rendering of Celeste. And I'm putting it as euphemistically as I possibly can.
Cool.
Right there in his home. So thank you, TMZ, for that. But think about it. Where does this go? What if
I'm going to go ahead and gift those 5 memberships right now. So good luck to whoever receives it.
they were paid for the information to leak those very sensitive documents? Joe Scott, you worked in a medical examiner's office. It could be anybody. It could be one of the doctors. It could be an assistant. It could be a secretary. It could be a cleaning lady. It could be an intern.
Congrats to everybody who received the gifted membership. If you guys haven't already, join the Discord. I have posts on there for our community. If you guys want, welcome to the inner circle. To all of you guys, appreciate you guys for being here. So congrats to everybody who got a gifted membership.
Quickly Xerox the files or email them to someone. This is going to be a full-blown thing.
Yeah, it is. And one of the things that I'm hearing, Nancy, is that they use the term plural investigators, which they have a huge staff of investigators at the ME's
Army,
office,
welcome.
ME/Coroner in LA, and also other personnel. So you've got a huge, huge section of individuals that have, Nancy, nothing to do with this case that are looking through these files. And Lord only knows what happened to them, and were there photocopies made? Were there actual snaps of individual images that people were taking with their phones? Has this stuff been disseminated? Because when you're working with a medical examiner, Nancy, there will be one investigator assigned to this case from the MEO, okay? And that is the only person.
And I saw Lil Misfits comment. It was just viewed and reported as viewed, wasn't it? I don't know if we actually have that information just yet, but who knows if it was just viewed, if that person who did view it could have taken a picture with their phone, could have sent it out to whoever, right? If it was transmitted and texted to somebody. So who knows what they've done with it, right? But I also think that, and this was a comment that I was going back and forth with somebody on Reddit, was that, maybe, just maybe, that the ME's office potentially could have put out some information out there to see who it was that was going to leak it. I don't know. That was a thought that we were thinking about. So I was like, was it just TMZ who just kind of took the bait and ran with it? Because if you think about it too, right, one of the reports that came out from TMZ that they claimed from the medical examiner's office was that her body was frozen upon discovery, or partially frozen, right? But like 41 days sitting in the front trunk of a Tesla under the heat, the California, Los Angeles heat in September, like 41 days, you guys, it is impossible to still be partially frozen. That shit don't make no sense. For reals, TMZ?
along with the pathologist that is working the case, the forensic pathologist that did the examination.
Hey,
Those are the only
Stormy.
people that really need to know at this point in time. This is like a sacred trust within our community. And what's so very disturbing about this, Nancy, and this goes beyond this case, right now, the trust has been
See
so
there, he's dworking.
eroded
He's dworking.
between LAPD and between the MEO that this is one of these things that it will take forever to repair, not to mention all of the criminal and civil repercussions. Because, Nancy, this is what it comes down to. This child, as if the family hasn't had enough on them, is now being drugged before people putting eyes on this case that have no business in it, and they are seeing this over and over again. It becomes a sideshow. And that's
You don't like his dworking? Talking true crime? You don't like his dworking? You don't like David's skills?
something
Right.
that we take very, very seriously.
Well, I got to tell you something. Nima Rahmani, if I were the prosecutor in this case, it would be like my hair was on fire getting into that medical examiner and finding out what happened, because they are this close to getting the case thrown out because of misconduct for which somebody may have been paid.
No question. So obviously there's going to be an investigation here, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's criminal charges, because that's how serious this is. But even short of misconduct, I mean, this is fodder for cross-examination. When the Emmy takes the stand, this will probably be discussed. When we're talking about jury selection, you're talking about prejudicial information, information that might not be admissible, that's already been leaked. So this affects voir dire as well.
Nima, look at your screen.
Voir dire.
Look at her. Look at her. She is a little girl. She is dead. She has had her body rendered down, left in 2 plastic bags, and the front trunk, a D4VD, David Anthony Burke Tesla, and her body.
You know what, Stormy Bell? I do too. I have an absolute problem taking them serious for anything. But the fact is, and the fact that we can't deny, is that they are many of the times, you know, the leading breaking news source out there. And so I'm not going to lie. Anytime TMZ drops an article, especially pertaining to this case, I'm going to jump right over it. And normally, you know, I'll be the first person to read it and dish it out to everybody, right? But I don't know. Maybe we can discredit TMZ a little bit, but we can't deny the fact that we're going to jump at any news that they put out, especially for this case, at least in my case.
Rotted. There's no nice way to say it. That is what is at stake. You mentioned cross-exam. Okay, that's a potential remedy for what has happened, but I've made out a list of what I think are possible remedies. Number 1, change of venue. They may want to change a venue so people that have heard about this.
Joe, welcome.
Yeah, buddy, what's up?
First Liberties Podcast is in the house. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. So I'm listening in the background, but I just got out of a donut shop, so you got to catch me up a bit. Yeah, no, I heard what Nancy said. This is on the verge of getting tossed. I don't know if I agree with exactly what she said, but let's catch me up. Like what were we just listening to? Because I'm late.
So they're basically just talking about the potential leaks and how this information could obviously have the case thrown out, but they're talking about like how this information was obtained, or whoever obtained it, what they did with that information. Is it something that, you know, they just viewed the ME report? Did they disseminate the information? Did they, you know, email it out, take photos, etc.? You know, and then she's just saying like how bad this actually really is.
Well, first off, we'll start with the obvious. So we don't actually know the extent of any damage done by accessing this without permission yet. And we also don't know why people are doing it. So are they doing it because they're leaking information? They want to take something to the media that the court locked away. And if, by the way, if they're doing that, at least that's a contempt charge, because this was under seal. So because it's a contempt charge, it's a misdemeanor. No one's they could probably pay a fine to get out of that. But that's at least a contempt charge. And now as far as manipulation, so that's it does depend on what's actually done. Like you saw, first they said no sign, no evidence of pregnancy. Then they changed it to inconclusive. That looks minor. Expert witnesses are treated differently from other fact witnesses, like eyewitnesses. So they're expected to do some things within their profession to come to a conclusion long term. There was a lot of noise over the fact that the medical examiner in the George Floyd case, she looked at the video at some point to make a conclusion, and people were upset. But that's normal. And I believe even you, for example, if you saw video of a patient's injury, right, and you use that to make your diagnosis, that is normal for what you do. I've never heard of any medical professional who was told, don't look at video of what got your patient to the office to begin with. I've never heard of that. Now tell me if there's if that's wrong before I continue.
No, that's absolutely right. Yeah.
But so with that in mind, experts do lots of, like firefighters, same thing. They do recreations. They look at videos to recreate. That's normal. Okay. So like I said, experts, because of their fields and the fact that they are expected to do so many different things to come to a conclusion, they do have a lot of leeway when it comes. They might change conclusions multiple times. That doesn't mean anything's manipulated, though, kid. Now, I don't know enough about your field or anyone else's really to really give a good example, but it's not necessarily a problem that different conclusions were reached along the way, especially because we have a body here that was in later stages of decomposition. And my understanding is that's always been a challenge. 20 years ago, especially 30 years ago, that was a challenge. Even today, as much more advanced as we are today, that would still be a challenge. So just because conclusions are changing isn't the problem. The issue is whether or not conclusions are changing, are being manipulated to target David. And that is a much higher burden than the news is actually representing right now. Now, I didn't see this interview with Nima Rahmani. Remember, he was a prosecutor out here. He also practices defense in California. He's actually a good one to listen to on all these things. I didn't listen to this yet, so this is the first time. So if he's touched on that, sorry, I missed it. But
no, he hasn't really much yet. He just kind of started talking.
Okay, he just got him.
Yeah.
Okay. Then
So,
it's not a big
I'm curious. I'm curious too, because once we heard that there was the Emmy leak, right? I don't know if it was Lauren Conlin or who it was, but then they were saying that the defense has hired a defense examiner. And is that just a medical examiner on the defense's side?
Yeah. When it comes to expert witnesses at trial, you don't just rely on the government's witness. In civil and criminal court, each side can get their own experts. The experts might have sharp disagreements, so the credibility is always up to the jury.
Yeah. In
any of this stuff, whether you're testifying for defense or for the government, like I said, I wouldn't expect you to change your story because of who you're talking to, but that's what people perceive. Yeah. They think it's the defense that's going to, in this case, because the evidence does highly suggest that David is the one who did it. It's really close. It's like I told Rabbit, when it comes down to that last 30 minutes where she may have been, we don't know exactly when she passed, but there's that 30-minute stretch. Somewhere in that 30-minute stretch of silence, she's expected to have passed away.
I think it's more like a 20-minute, right? Because I think she got there at 10:10.
That was 10:10 to 10:40. Well, you're probably right.
And then 10:30 he sent that text message, right? That's when he sent that text message to her asking like where she was at.
Yeah, you're probably right. I thought it was 10:40, but you're probably right.
Either way, it's only a few minutes off. But yeah, there is that small little window where, there's the expectation of that she passed away in that time.
Yeah. So now, just because you're a defense expert, that doesn't mean that you're spinning it. That doesn't necessarily mean you're spinning it for the defense. But yeah, you'd be amazed. We have special prosecutors for certain cases, like when cops get investigated. There was something like this that even happened recently in Los Angeles. So the last district attorney hired a special prosecutor to investigate police misconduct. The special prosecutor said, yeah, there was misconduct. Then now Nathan Hochman he got a separate special prosecutor to continue, and then you got a different conclusion. Right. Yeah. So yeah, it can happen. Right. But like I said, it's entirely up to the jury. We still have to hear what they say, but it's normal. Just in case people wonder, it's normal for defense and state to have their own experts. In fact, if you were going to a criminal trial, if you can't afford your own experts, there are actually lists of experts that the court will call to your trial. In your defense.
So question, right? Because Not a Lawyer podcast put in the chat, Flo, I have doubts in that window. Even Body Bag says that injury, she would have bled out for a long time. So is that 20-minute window enough for her to bleed out? I mean, how do you feel about that window?
Well, here's the thing. Remember, the gap is 10:10 she arrived, so 10:30 he says that message and saying, are you coming?
Yeah.
Right. So that's the allegation. Now, remember, the government's allegation isn't, or at least I don't think it's so specific that she died in those 20 minutes, but rather this is about the last time. This was her last night alive. That's really what matters. They don't have to pinpoint that she passed away 10:10 to 10:30. That's not the important part. What the jury needs to believe is she walked into this house. This is the last place she was known to be alive. And for some reason, okay, so two people walk into a house, David and Celeste, and David's the only one that walked out. So the implication there, especially because the body was chopped up and the liver is apparently punctured, it looks like David did it. You see what I mean? So it doesn't have to be 10:30, 11:30. The point is, she walked into that one house the last night she was known to be alive, and he was expected to have been there. You see how that works?
Yeah.
So that's really all they need.
And I know the one thing that you keep reminding us on, when we're live and you're in the chat, is that the defense doesn't have to prove anything, right? All they have to do is just cause a little bit of, reasonable doubt, and they'll have the edge on the case.
Yeah.
What do you think their defense is going to be when this thing goes to trial? If and when this thing goes to trial?
Well, right now they're going to lean on these statements here that medical examiners were investigated, and they're gonna find a way to bring that into trial. They're gonna look for inconsistencies, and we already have one that we know of. Again, the first, she was not pregnant, and then it was inconclusive.
Yeah.
And I know that is nitpicky, honestly, but it's not unlawful for them to bring that up so the jury can consider it. They're going to look for little things to say, no, this whole investigation was fabricated to make one person look guilty. And that's what happened in the Alec Baldwin case. And that was the truth. The investigation was narrowed to make Alec look more responsible than he was. Part of the reason he got off, evidence that made him look innocent was hidden. So, and that's also another thing with this case, back to the David case. If there's any evidence that let's say some information is actually being removed, if there's evidence that let's say there was evidence showing that let's just entertain David for a minute. Let's just say for a moment there actually is evidence he didn't, the conclusion is wrong. There is no puncture in the liver, okay, and there is no puncture on the lung. Let's just say the evidence really doesn't show that. Okay, that has to be by law turned over to the defense.
Yeah.
If not, that's called a Brady violation.
Yep.
And if
that's huge, right? For anybody on the prosecution, I mean, they can literally lose their license over something like that.
You can lose your life. I don't know what the criminal penalties are, but I don't even know if there are criminal penalties for Brady violations, honestly, because I know Nancy Grace got 2. The Georgia Supreme Court reversed 2 of her cases for Brady violations. And as far as I know, she just retired. I don't think she was ever in prison. But yeah, she can lose her license, and the verdict is overturned. Okay, so it's not a mistrial. It's dismissal with prejudice, meaning that this is final and in favor of that defendant. So that means if there is a Brady violation, then, and let's say David really did it, but because people were on the state side were screwing things up, they were manipulating evidence. Okay, and something was supposed to go to David that wasn't turned over. If he can prove that benefit in his favor on appeal, then he walks, at least from this. As far as the other charges, the sex abuse charges, as long as that's him on camera, that's just it. He's doing at least 16 years for that.
Yeah.
If I read correctly, I think he's doing at least 16 years just for that. Yeah. So he's not walking.
What are your thoughts on any federal charges being brought against him after this case?
With what the federal government usually does there, they could, by constitutional rules, they could just have their trial first, but by policy, they have theirs last. It also works out for them because when you have all these statements under oath and that's admissible in the federal courts, because for legal purposes, if it's on a court document, usually it's usually presumed reliable. Yeah. So that makes the federal case stronger. So they're going to no matter what, basically, they're going to let the state case play out first because that makes the federal case easier. So he'll get those eventually. Now, let's say he does get life. I wouldn't be surprised if the federal government just said, just let him sit. He's going to stay in prison for life.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it probably is in their interest if they know they know he's as bad as it looks. And like I said, they're going to wait for the state trial to conclude. They'll probably take him. So then he's going to end up with, I don't even know how long, because we still don't actually know the extent of that abuse evidence. Is remember, if it's on video, they charge you by the frame. So if you're using a more modern camera, that's 120 frames per minute. So in a minute, you committed 120 offenses. But there's an upper limit on that. So I don't remember the sentencing, but there's another upper limit on that.
Well, not only that too, right? But if you think about it too, so the state trial is going to take place, whatever the outcome is, that maybe potential federal charges, he might face that. But then also we're expected to see a civil lawsuit take place too, right? With the family, with Celeste family too. So this guy can be in the spotlight for the next few years.
Oh yeah. This isn't over. I don't know how much of his money is his money. I don't know how much of the luxury that he's enjoyed was just the record label paying out for, they pay for limos, they pay for helicopters and all that stuff. I don't know how much of that is actually his, but they're going to do that after the criminal trial. Because right now he has his right to be silent. He cannot be compelled to participate in a civil court, because that would violate his Fifth Amendment rights. So for that reason, the criminal trial has to conclude before the civil trial can begin.
Well, not only that too, I think about it too. If he gets charged with all of the charges that are brought against him, right, you can assume that they're going to file appeal after appeal. So we may even see that take place too, right? So
they always appeal. They always fight. They always look for the little stuff. Like, this is what I was like I said over at Rabbit's Chat, whether or not David did it, he will be convicted simply by the nature of these charges.
Yeah.
Even if he really did not take her life. So for that reason alone, and the surrounding circumstances, again, if it really is him on camera in bed with her, he doesn't have a defense. We talked about this before, how defensive age does exist to the point where if you reasonably believe by mistake that the underage person was in fact of legal age, you can actually escape some charges. And I gave him that benefit of the doubt too, because at my last warehouse, I knew a girl, 19 years old. She was small. Like, we worked in a warehouse. If you ever been to Costco, or anyone who's just not worked at a warehouse, go to Costco. You'll see a lot of their pallets are not supposed to be higher than 5 feet tall, but this girl was just under 5 feet tall. So she was just a little bit shorter than a pallet at Costco.
Wow.
And I drive a forklift everywhere. I got to pick stuff up. I have to get out and look for this girl. Yeah, but she's 19 years old. If she was not working at my warehouse, I probably wouldn't believe her. You put a Pokemon backpack on that girl, you would swear she was on her way to school. So that's why I gave David the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he really didn't know. Now it's early on. Now we all know that's done and past. He does not have that claim. More importantly, even if he did, this specific charge, because she was under a certain age at the time the allegations take place, he doesn't have that defense. So once the state proves the illegal physical contact, that's it. But they have to prove, this is also one possibility. The charge says that there has to be 3 illegal acts within a 3-month period. And I looked this up. There was a guy who he got off because the state proved 2 acts in a 3-month period, not 3. So he did get out on appeal because of that shortcoming. I don't know about a follow-up. I don't know if he was charged again with something else, but I'm just saying that can happen.
So, well, I mean, we're really going to have to wait and see what this evidence brings then, right?
Yeah. It's always, we always got to wait for trial. Things are always unfold very differently at trial. People, especially right now in the investigation phase, witnesses change stories. And that's the big one with Aysia Collins. Her last name's Collins, right?
Yep.
So that's one of the big ones with Aysia Collins right now. She initially said she didn't know Celeste or never met Celeste, or I don't know if the context of the statement was accurate, but people think that she was trying to hide any knowledge of Celeste. They think she was looking out for David, apparently. I don't know what the truth of it. I don't know what the truth of that is, but let's say that's the truth, though. And that's normal in the investigation phase. People change their stories. I don't know who that is. I don't want nothing to do with it. And then the government starts showing you stuff. Says, yeah, you do. You know her. You've been in chat rooms with her. And granted, a chat room is not the same as a formal hello and exchanging names.
True.
But from a government standpoint, when in a criminal investigation, that's a little bit stronger than people think. So she would eventually have to yield and say, okay, we met. I didn't know her well, but it could go on from there. But stories change. So that's why it's always best to wait for the trial, because now things are more organized by the time we get there.
I do have one more question before we continue the video. So
sure.
We've heard that during this preliminary trial, the prosecution is preparing witnesses, making sure that they're available to show up on the 21st. Who do you strongly believe is going to be these witnesses they're going to be calling up during the prelims?
It has to be the arresting officers. We absolutely need to hear from them, because this was not a grand jury indictment.
Yeah.
This was not through an arrest warrant. So this was apparently a fresh arrest. Why exactly, I don't know. The theory that makes the most sense to me right now, because we'll look at his charges. If he accessed his iCloud and he's got more of the same illegal, obscene content on his iCloud, that would be enough if they were already monitoring him. So they're already monitoring his activity. They could have gone and gotten him right there. And there's a report from April 16th. It's from NBC LA. I sent it to Rabbit a while back. And that's when the narcotics division said that they were monitoring David. Okay, now I don't know if we didn't see any charges like that. So we don't know if that's necessarily what the arrest was about. Like, maybe that's the truth. Maybe this was just a deal. Maybe he was just dealing stuff on the streets to make money. He didn't know he was being watched, and then they moved in on him. Well, they moved in on him, but they have all this evidence of other stuff that he did. So then that justifies the arrest. But we still don't know exactly why they moved in on him. We got to hear that from the arresting officer. So we're going to hear that finally from the arresting officer. Why exactly did you arrest this man? Because by constitutional law, it has to be justified, or he can walk. He could walk. What is it? We're a little under 2 weeks from now. Yeah, he could walk in a little under 2 weeks if they don't justify it.
Well, and then I also remember when they had the press conference where they discussed his charges, prosecution and LAPD made it very clear that they were working in lockstep, to make this happen. So, there's going to be an explanation for all of this. And you're right. I do think that we're going to hear from law enforcement during the prelims to really get that answer and find out, why was he arrested? But we're going to go ahead. Let's jump into this video really quick. Let's watch it, and then we'll stop and pause. And if you have any comments you want to make, if you hear something, just let me know. We'll stop it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Won't be on the jury. But wouldn't you agree that's going to be a bad move for D4VD? They don't want to change a venue. They're in one of the most lenient jurisdictions in California. You get a change of venue and you hike up to Northern California, you will get convicted up there. Yeah, forget it. I doubt they want to change a venue. They could try to get the prosecution thrown off, won't work. They may try to get the medical examiner's office recused, unlikely, because they're the ones that did the autopsy. The medical examiner is going to be reprimanded, that for sure. There will be a Syrian cross-examination. That's a given. Here's a concern. Remember what happened in O.J. Simpson, right? Furman and others on the force made the jury so upset about their personal behavior that it ended in a jury nullification. And we've seen it many, many times. The jury says, you know what? He probably did it, but screw it. The state was horrible. We're not convicting. It's a punishment for the state. Of course, you could ask each individual juror on voir dire, do they know about this? And if they say no, and they can keep an open mind, the case moves forward. What do you think is going to happen?
I want to hear what he says. I'm very curious about what he says. But as far as transferring venue in California, I don't know. Maybe that does depend because it really does depend where you go. Because you're down here in LA with me. Yeah. You know how bad it got down here. Personally, now Nancy's talking about LA as a lenient jurisdiction. I don't think she's keeping up with news in California so closely. And that's fine. She's out in Georgia or Texas, I think. But news traveled far and wide that California in general is a lenient jurisdiction towards crime. And that's not the truth. And especially now with Nathan Hochman.
With Nathan, yeah, I was going to say, now that we have the new DA in town, a lot has changed since Gascon has left. Yeah.
And what
and he made that promise. He made that promise to LA that the times have changed. It's not we're out with the old and in with the new.
Yeah, he got 63.1% of the final vote, guys, and that should tell you a lot. But if it's not telling you, then people gotta understand, because crime did get so bad over the last few years, juries are impatient. Juries are much more likely to convict on the optics alone. They're just so fed up with everything that has gone wrong over the last few years. Anyone on that jury with a chance to punish somebody, I think more likely we are going to see a jury that is eager to punish no matter where he goes in California right now, especially for these charges. Now, I talked to Chloe about this a while back.
Mm-hmm.
Our courts,
Shout out to Chloe.
I know if she's back. And now our courts have a rule, a motion to sever. So if you have a client like this who has multiple charges, you can file a motion arguing that the charges should be separated so that David should have maybe two trials in this case instead of one. Now, because everything is so intertwined, I asked Chloe about this because I wasn't sure. And she was convinced that everything was too intertwined. She said the judge will not grant a motion to sever. So he's going to go to trial for all three charges no matter what he does. Now, look at his charges. He's got just about all of our most serious felonies and as a first-time offense. No one's going to be lenient to this guy. The jury is going to hear the whole story from what they met when she was 11 or 12, and then the illegal activity it starts at 13. They're not going to be lenient. There's nowhere in California he can go to get that leniency. And that's where I don't agree with Nancy's statement. And she's looking to the past to explain the future too much. The times have really changed. He's not walking no matter where he goes. The change of venue, especially with this kind of publicity, I don't think it matters. There's nowhere he can go. The whole thing is the evidence does look so bad that I don't think anybody can save him. That's what Bruce Rivers was talking about. The evidence
For,
doesn't give you
there's 40 terabytes, right? 40 terabytes of evidence. I mean, who knows what they have on there, right? Or what they have in that 40 terabytes of evidence. But I mean, 40 terabytes is not small for anybody who's not familiar with just the amount, right? Like that's a lot. Like
How did Flo summarize it? She explained it like if you were if you were a bunch of filing bins. Like she explained it. It wasn't a short stack of papers. She said if you were to put that in papers, yeah, she said it was like a filing bin at least.
Yeah, I forget what the number.
Yeah, I forgot what number she said, but it's still, yeah, it's a huge stack of papers. So you could stand on that and you can get anything off the top shelf at the store. You know, it's not short. It's not a short. It's not a small job. And then, like I said, when it comes to the videos, Blair has to break it down by the frame. She's got to look for any little gap to say this. There's no way of proving this is my client. That's really the only defense she's got. But then, like I said, other charges in the federal court can still happen.
To put things into perspective, you guys, right? For how much 40 terabytes is, if you have a standard iPhone at 256 gigabytes, you're looking at about like 150 plus iPhones at 256 gigabytes full of information, right? So for somebody who has a standard, like for myself right now, if I were to look at my photos and stuff, I have like about, it says here 46,000 items, right? That's videos and photos. Yeah, I got a lot of photos, right? But that's just how much information that they have in their possession that they're putting into evidence, you guys. So we're probably not even going to see like 10% of what they're claiming is evidence, but it's a lot of shit.
Yeah, it's a lot. And answer Adil's question, because she asked, like what we were talking about a moment ago, what about the federal charges and all the obscene content? I don't know the sentencing is very high on that. I think most of these guys do at least 30 years, and he facing charges in California and the federal system, and the sentencing is about the same. But I don't remember what the upper limit is. I haven't looked at that math in a while, but with that in mind, I would say he wouldn't even qualify for, let's say he didn't get life in prison. I don't think he probably wouldn't be eligible for release until 70 or so. At least.
Hopefully not. All right, let's see what Nima has to say about it.
Things except the change of venue. Like you said, and LA County is by far and away one of the best venues for defense lawyers. And like he said, the defense is going to put law enforcement on trial. This is defense lawyering 101. It started from the OJ case, but there are a lot of people here in LA County where I'm sitting that don't trust law enforcement, don't trust our government. And this is going to feed into that. But disqualification motion for the DA's office? Absolutely. We saw this in the Tyler Robinson case for Charlie Kirk. This is something the defense is going to do. Try to get the whole process. Jury selection. Ask the potential jurors, have you heard about this leak? Do you have any views about the LA County?
Speak the truth. It's known to us as jury selection. You know, I got another question to Dr. Bethany Marshall joining us, renowned psychoanalyst. She's the author of Deal Breaker. She, of course, has her own psychoanalysis clientele. She has a full-on practice. You can see her not only on Peacock, you can see her on
that blends in with the wall.
Yeah. Is it freezing for you guys too?
Yeah, it was skipping on my end.
Okay. I've been having some internet issues here. Put a 1 in the chat if you guys can hear me. Joe, you can still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so that means we should still be on, but I'm wondering if they're getting it.
Yeah, I still hear you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was just skipping for a bit. Okay. Yeah. So Nima didn't have anything I need to comment on.
Yeah.
I mean, he's right. I understand what they mean. The jurisdiction does make a big difference. Look at the difference between, let's say, Derek Chauvin, which was in Minnesota. That's a jurisdiction that doesn't trust cops. What he did was blatantly against constitutional statutory laws, and he got convicted. And then you go to Georgia, and I think the incident took place 2023. But two or three cops beat a handcuffed man to death, and the jury said not guilty in Georgia. Now, in both cases, you have handcuffed men who died, and our courts are clear that is a constitutional violation, and our statutory rules are allowed to punish those police officers. And that's the difference between jurisdictions. Minnesota, they don't trust cops as much, so they convicted. And then Georgia, they'll let cops do whatever they want, apparently. But in both cases, the cops broke the law. The juries just didn't agree, didn't all agree. So the difference in a venue does matter. I just don't think it's going to matter as much here in California, like I said, because the way crime escalated, the way things got out of control. I don't think David is going to get the same.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I don't think they're going to get a change of venue regardless.
So go ahead. Let's see what this
Oh, you can see her on Netflix. Now she's a star of a new podcast, On the Couch with Dr. Bethany Marshall. Okay, all that said, Dr. Bethany, why would you leak sensitive information? It's so clandestine, setting it up, providing the information. Why?
Nancy, this is their job. They whatever they did. This reminds me of your friend Joan Rivers, right? When there was the wrongful death lawsuit, what came out is that her ENT took selfies of her while she was under anesthesia, and the wish for the notoriety, to gossip, took precedence over ethics. And there are just such widespread ramifications for this, unfortunately, that not the least of which is that her family now knows about the disarticulation.
Really quick, I just want to shout out to everybody who's been in the chat. We did officially hit 2,300 subs, so thank you guys for that. I appreciate you guys. Just for that, I am going to be gifting another 5 memberships to everybody that is here in the chat. So good luck to you guys. Thank you guys for all subscribing. I appreciate you guys. It's good to do these afternoon shows. I really wish I didn't have to work full time, but thank you guys for being here, and hopefully we can do this again tomorrow. But let me go ahead and send 5 gifted memberships, and then we'll get back to this video.
Awesome. And to answer a question in the chat, I don't think he's getting off. I know that's what people are saying right now. It was the same thing I told Rabbit when the news broke. Expect the defense to use it. But it's probably not going to end the trial unless it has to be something really bad to really stop the trial. Our courts are really clear on this, that usually the courts don't just disregard evidence, even if it's a little bit sketchy. They're not going to stop the trial just for that alone. There's a presumption that the general public wants to see these matters solved at trial, for better or worse. So with that presumption in mind, they will move this to trial as best they can. What the judge may do, because the judge has a lot of ways to remedy this. The judge could, she could say certain phrasing isn't allowed. Like, remember what's the big one? The sentence that he stood by as she bled out. We still don't know what the basis for that statement is. It's possible. There are very limited exceptions, just to keep it short and sweet. There are limited exceptions for third-party statements that make a defendant look bad, depending on when they were said. That could be admissible. That could have been something he said to what's his name? Morgan Roth. That could have been something he said to Morgan Roth on the phone. And then that could have led to that question, why didn't you call the police? And he says, I don't know, I didn't think I had that responsibility. I just wanted to get on with the tour. Yeah, it's not my job. Okay, that could have. Now, obviously, I'm speculating because I don't know what happened. But I'm just saying there are circumstances where that would be allowable. But we have to hear from him to know if we have those circumstances. But like I said, let's say there's no basis for that statement. The judges would just say that's not allowed at trial. Same thing with the medical examiner's report. Like I said earlier, it's not impossible. It's actually fairly common for experts to reach multiple conclusions over time until they finally settle on something. That's not a problem. If that's all we've got, then David has no complaint at trial. Now, like I said, because there's publicity, Blair, the lawyer, is going to lean on that at trial to say this is being manipulated, this is being altered to single out my client. She's going to say it for the record, because if you don't say it for the court record, then you can't bring it up on appeal if it does happen. So she's going to say it anyway. But I bet you we need to hear something really, really bad in order to stop this. And right now we don't have that.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think this is just, look, we're 10 days away, right? It's the 11th now. 10 days away, we're going to.
Today's the 11th. Yeah, so in 10 days, we're going to see the first preliminary. And like I said, first we're just going to hear about the arrest.
Yeah.
Now, also understand, really the point of the medical examination is really just to prove there was a death at the scene. That's ultimately what it's for. So the report is it's going to be admitted for one reason or another. It doesn't look like they fabricated the fact that there was a death at the scene. We all know that, right? We have the news reports, the warrants, and of course we have the exam. Now the exact conclusions might be mixed. So the judge might start scratching stuff off, might start saying certain statements can't be used, like I said. But the idea that they're going to disregard the body altogether, that doesn't make any sense to me. Right off the top of my head right now, I can't think of a reason the judge would do that. But I can almost promise you we are going to hear about this report at trial no matter what.
I'm also curious to know what happened to Celeste's body, right? What did David do with her body from April 23rd to May 5th?
Well, maybe TMZ does have the truth. Maybe there was some evidence that the body was frozen at one point.
And that's what I believe too, right? I do think that there's a possibility that she could have been frozen at some point. I just don't think that it was very accurate for them to report that she was partially frozen upon discovery. But not only that, the part that bothers me too is that when LAPD came out and debunked it, TMZ came out the very next day and doubled down.
Yeah, they were adamant.
You remember that?
Oh yeah, they're adamant.
Yeah,
they absolutely trust their sources, whether or not they're trying to just do it for a story. Yeah, they were adamant, and maybe they did have something. But same thing I told all you guys back then. If that's true, and because the report was under seal when they said that, so as I said, if that's true, somebody is going to get investigated, and here we are. Somebody's getting investigated.
Yeah.
But like I said, it doesn't, just because there's an investigation doesn't mean that the evidence is being tossed. It really doesn't make sense when you understand that the courts assume there's a public interest in seeing all of these matters solved at the trial. And without evidence of a body, there is no trial. But like I said, it's probably not going to happen. Under these circumstances, it just seems laughable. The only issue I see is if the report is if there are so many different conclusions on the report, and there might have been evidence early on that would have showed David didn't do it. Or, like I said, maybe something was fabricated, for example. The defense has a right to know about it. That's a U.S. Supreme Court rule from Brady versus Maryland, that once the prosecution has that evidence, they have to turn it over. If they hide it and it comes out on appeal, then at least that charge will get scrapped. And in this case, because the mutilation, as far as I can tell, if he committed the murder, he probably mutilated the body too.
Yeah.
So as far as I can tell, if the first degree charge is scrapped, then so is the mutilation charge. But like I said, that only speaks to those two charges. For the other stuff, I still think he's doing the max 16 years.
Okay, so I have questions about the possible murder weapon too, because I don't know if they have it in their possession, because we haven't heard anything about it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they do, and that's fine. They don't. They sure as shit can't guess. Now they maybe they did look at some of the knives that he possessed. Maybe they did take them, and maybe if they found something, it's not too late for them to tell. Remember, they don't have to tell us absolutely everything at this point in the trial, and even Beth Silverman she did say at the first hearing that any and all charges that can be filed have not been filed. So if that's true, we can still expect more to come. But if they found something on the knife, we could find out later. We don't have to know right now, especially at the preliminary stage. All the government has to do is argue that there is enough evidence to move forward the trial. That's the only thing they have to do.
I just remembered that there was discussion on about a possible 54, maybe. I think it was 54 warrants that have all been
54 warrants. You guys know what it takes to get one? This guy got 54.
This guy got 54 warrants. So when do you think these warrants may be unsealed, or if they ever will?
Well, yeah, it's all going to get unsealed. We're going to start seeing that on the 21st, because we have that's the big one. They have to unseal the first one, that leading into the trunk. Even though, we all knew that happened. Oh no, that one's already unsealed. So remember, we already have that one unsealed. So then we have the one that so from there, they got warrants leading to the house. So those are the big ones. We're gonna know. Then they took computers, they took cameras, they probably took other devices that have storage cameras on them, so on. Whatever they find.
Adele is asking if you can explain how difficult it is to get a warrant.
The standard is probable cause. Now, that means that you have to. Probable cause means that there are facts that show that there's a good likelihood the crime has happened. Now, if you're involved in a bar fight, for example, that's a bad example. Well, okay, let's say there was a shooting at in your neighborhood, or hell, it was in your house, right? Well, they're different. And there we have probable cause. We know the body was in the house. Okay, so cops are probably going to have to get a warrant for it if they find whatever they find, whoever else is at the house. Then they start, when they start using cell phones, text messages, and so on. The point is, there has to be a factual reason to believe that you or something in your possession is linked to a crime. Like here's an easy example. A lot of cars get searched, the trunk gets opened. Sometimes cops find all kinds of stuff in there. They could find illegal substances, they could find weapons, they could find bodies. If they do it the wrong way, that actually gets scrapped, because the officers can't justify how they saw it actually. They can't justify the reason for actually opening that trunk, even if they find it. Why? Because they have to be able to speak honestly and factually to what they actually saw. So just because they pull you over doesn't mean they have a right to open a trunk. Okay, and that's because of the probable cause standard. So with that in mind, now granted, probable cause isn't a ridiculously high standard, but like I said, it's still a factual and inconvenient one. It's not a guess. It's not intuition. Okay, in this case, well, the body was in his car. That's about as straightforward as it gets. It's somebody knows something in that inner circle. Yeah. But to get that warrant, at a minimum, like I said, really all that matters is that something factually related to a crime happened. And I guess in this case, well, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a simpler example. It's too obvious in this case. But like I said, the evidence just has to implicate you. It's not enough, like, say this happens on occasion. Let's say there is a body, a body across the street, or even there's a body in your lawn. That doesn't mean you did anything. So obviously that's a crime scene. But if the cops want to get a warrant to search your inside your house, there has to be a reason to believe that the crime happened inside the house. Remember the Karen Reed case. The body was outside the house. Now, even though that was a corrupt investigation, and I agreed from the beginning, that whole case was corrupt. But even if that was not a corrupt investigation, they honestly wouldn't have had a reason to go inside the house. All the evidence did say that the body was outside. There was no, we didn't see blood. We didn't hear anything about blood on the doorknobs. We didn't see broken windows. You see what I mean? How there has to be a factual connection to actually go from one piece of evidence to another, basically. So with that in mind, how hard is it to just? What's up?
No, go ahead.
Well, with that in mind, how hard is it to just not produce a dead body? How hard is it not to just conceal a weapon or conceal illegal substances? Or in David's case, how hard is it to just leave a minor alone? You see what I mean? So that's why I say that you have to understand what it takes to actually get one warrant after you. Most criminal cases have about 3 or 4 warrants. This guy got 54. 54 warrants. And we actually, here's also another thing. We don't know whose name is on those warrants. We still don't know like how many people were being searched. How many, like he has multiple properties, right? We know about the one in Hollywood.
We do. Yeah. I mean,
And didn't he have a cabin or something
2 on
in Santa
Doheny.
Barbara?
That I'm not too sure, but I mean, also there's the other properties, the 2 other the deeds to in his mom's name. So we don't know if they served anything there, or even after the SWAT call, if they served one at his parents' house.
Mm-hmm.
So,
She's asking, or I think it's she because of the avatar. Is it a Brady violation if the prosecution has the weapon and holding the evidence in their back pocket? No, I wouldn't necessarily. Theoretically, yes. Let's say there are fingerprints on it. If David's fingerprints are not on the knife they believe is the one that was used to take her life, yes, it would be a Brady violation if they held on to it and didn't tell David. Unfortunately, but that's one of those things they may never prove. I don't know how that would come up, because to prove a Brady violation, it's not enough that the prosecution hid the evidence, but on appeal, you have to explain why this evidence would have worked out in your defendant's favor, and what would that outcome be. So again, like if you guys want to see that example, look at the Alec Baldwin case. The state said, because that's why he got off the Brady violation. The state said he was supposed to supervise Hannah, the girl that was bringing in her own personal rounds to the set. And because the boss, Alec Baldwin, wasn't watching Hannah, the girl that was arming all the weapons, he had a duty to act. He had a duty to oversee her, and therefore his negligence was necessarily part of the reason Helena died. And Alec Baldwin said those rounds were provided by somebody else named Seth Kenney, and those were his live rounds. But at first, the state said there were no live rounds on the set. Then it turned out, or no live rounds from Seth Kenney on the set. Then the live rounds from Seth Kenney were actually found on the set, and the government did not tell. So that shows that there would have been two different explanations for his liability. And that's why if that came out on appeal, he would have walked anyway for the same reason. So if you want to understand how that works, you want to see an example of that, look at the last, there's only 3 days of the Alec Baldwin case. Look at the third case, look at what the judge said. That's exactly what happened. So it's not enough that let's say they had the knife and didn't say anything. That would fall under prosecutor's discretion. They actually don't have to provide the knife necessarily. They don't even need that for a conviction. Let's say they know about it and they just didn't bring it forward. They could just say, we just, if anybody even found out, it actually isn't even necessarily, it's not even necessarily something they would be penalized for if they knew about it and didn't put it forward. But
I think at this point, from what we know, right, all of the evidence has been given to the defense, right? So if if they possessed the weapon, then they would already have that evidence, right? No?
Well, here's the thing. With prosecutors actually, they don't have to put forward absolutely all the evidence. They have to put forward the evidence they believe is useful in proving the case beyond a reasonable doubt. So because the burden is on them, they have discretion over what evidence comes forward and if. So if you have 10 witnesses to the same crime, they may only decide there are 3 that they really need. Yeah. So they can bring 3 to trial and prove the case. Now, like I said, if one of those witnesses actually turns out to be in the defendant's favor and that was withheld, then yeah, that's a problem. But it can be really hard to prove. So because it's hard to prove, prosecutors do sometimes hide stuff, or like they take paperwork home, they leave it at home and say, I don't know what happened to it, because the court doesn't require the prosecution to put everything forward. Again, that's the rule. Prosecutors' discretion. They have the choice. They decide what goes forward. The only thing they can't do is hide evidence that proves the defendant didn't do anything.
So then, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how this prelim unfolds. So 10 days, you guys. I don't know how much longer we can wait.
Well, dude, I bet you all from day one, the 21st, once you hear about that initial arrest and what justified it, then you're going to be hooked from there, because every door from there is going to start getting open.
So basically, you guys, once the prelim starts, you guys, we are going to have a lot to talk about, especially once start being unsealed. This is just going to get bigger and bigger, you guys. If you guys thought that there was a lot of attention on this case now, wait till so let's go ahead and
what happened in that garage. So it's trauma upon trauma for them. You know, Nancy, I have to go back to something. If his was showing in court, if he is sending the message, kiss my to the judge, how did he treat an 11-year-old little girl? What kind of power did he have?
Where did this come from?
And what did when they were investigating this, what did
the reports?
No, where did it come from? If his ass is showing in court, what the hell is she talking about?
So there was a report that came out, I guess on TikTok. Somebody was saying that, like, I don't know, it looked like his pants may have been down, but I don't know. That's definitely just, you know, somebody's.
Well, isn't he the type?
Right. Could be.
Well, I don't know.
He was prosecution.
Well, here's the thing. Remember, he's skinny. He's not much over 100 pounds. Like Celeste might have been heavier than him at one point. He's not a big guy at all.
And tall.
That's why Strategic Eye said he's going to make a great bottom boy.
Yeah.
Well, it could have just been close hauling up. If the judge said something, then it doesn't matter if it was an accident. If the judge says don't do it, then make sure it doesn't happen.
Well, they also
That's your
said
one
that,
fair warning.
They also said that Blair went in the courtroom like rubbing his back.
No, they can do that. That's the lawyer's going to tell you, hey, it's going to be good. We're going to get you through this. The lawyer can't make you a promise like I'm going to get you off the hook. That's against their ethics code. But they can tell you, we can fight this. We can win. We still have the appeal. It's not hopeless. But we don't want to go to the appeal if we don't have to. We're going to fight this at trial. I've done this before. I'm going to do it. I can do it again. But, you know, they just can't make you a promise that they're going to get you off the hook.
Yeah, I mean, just like in nursing too, right? I mean, we can never, you know, provide false reassurance to a patient and tell them everything's going to be okay, you know.
Yeah. See, you get it. You can't make, just don't make promises. Yeah.
There's never make a promise you can't keep.
Right? Anyway, let's see. Let's continue. I got thrown off by that. Like, what?
Yeah.
It probably is a lot worse than we even know.
We're former NYPD Detective Sergeant Joint Terrorism Task Force, former Chief Security Officer, and co-star of Gold Shields podcast, author of Workplace Safety.
Joe, did you speed the video up?
Dan, how?
No, the ad.
Yeah, the 1.25.
Oh, let me do that. Yeah, we can do that.
Eesh, that's
How
gonna be bad.
deflating is it that you was a decomposing body in a trunk? That's it. You build case like the LAPD.
Graceful. LAPD Robert Homicide has a great reputation earned by doing some incredible work over the years. Anybody around the country who works as a detective knows about them and knows about their professionalism. They put their heart and soul. I can guarantee you those detectives focused on nothing but this case from the minute they found that little girl in the car. They built a great case. They followed all the breadcrumbs of evidence. They didn't just say he had to have done it. They are proving it. Their evidence is substantial, significant, and they should be proud of it. And they're going into court prepared to testify to what they have learned and convince a jury. And they feel good about that. And then this happens, I would be furious. I would be beyond livid. And as you mentioned earlier, it would scar my relationship with the ME's office for the rest. You cannot trust them. You cannot work with them. It's that simple.
It's horrible because they're one of the most respected arms of the state. Back to investigative reporter who one article after the next regarding D4VD, David Anthony Burke, in the LA magazine. She is the star of Pop Crime TV.
You guys, just FYI, it seems like my internet is cutting out a little bit. So if it gets really too bad, we may have to just kind of end it, and then I might have to just restart and maybe come back a little bit later. So earlier, before I started my live, I didn't have any internet. They're doing construction outside, so I don't know if that's messing with it. But if it gets too bad, we'll probably have to come back out a little bit later.
Lauren Conlon has been on this case from the very beginning. Lauren, we just came out of court. What happened?
Yes, Nancy. So everything finally, after many, many delays, is ready to go for July 21st. We are going to begin what they believe is a 5-day preliminary hearing where the prosecution is going to present all of the evidence that they deem relevant to get this case to the point where David can stand trial for murder. Now, the other thing I noticed is that Blair Burke was very, very adamant shackled during these proceedings. And the judge did not make a decision at the bench. She just told Blair Burke to file a motion about it.
Lauren Conlon, you're right. Everybody's just getting out of that California courtroom where it was determined this case is going forward. No more Wadey Katie, no whining, no complaining. Both sides claim we're ready to go forward with the will be revealed. It has to be by the state. But you brought up correctly again, Lauren Conlon, somebody was whining.
The defense brought up a shackling issue to David and the guards. So basically the judge, there wasn't a motion brought up already. So the judge said to bring up the motion and she will address it. My assumption is they may want to maybe limit some of the shackling that he has, maybe when he comes in or something.
Our new friend at the Light True Crime on TikTok, Joe Scott Morgan, before I go to Nima Rahmani on this legal issue, D4VD, aka David Anthony Burke, is in court whining that he you can't have somebody shackled in front of a jury, Constitution. Could you just give us a little reality check in regular people talk? Okay, no big medical examiner words, please.
Gotcha. Yeah.
What happened? Age 14. What happened? And he's whining about shackles. Go ahead.
She has a sharp force injury on the right aspect of her ribs. Okay. And it passes through there, doesn't touch the lung. It just goes over the top of that rib. However, and all of our friends out there, if you will take your right hand, your fingertips, and find the base of your ribs on the right hand side, okay, that's where your liver is. This sharp force injury passed into the liver. And a lot of people think that if you sustain an injury to the liver, that perhaps you would die suddenly. Nancy, this was a long and languishing death. I've worked multiple cases involving trauma to the liver. It's a slow bleed. I find that very interesting considering some of the language we've heard in the past about this case, to watch her bleed out. And this would have not been. Then after that, he disrespects her remains after she is dead and begins to render them down. How does he do that? Well, we've heard the term saw, chainsaw. We've heard all of these different things. And then if that's not bad enough, Nancy, and allegedly, and places it into this trunk of this vehicle, drives it around. And Nancy, what we have heard is that they have used the term, they've used the term liquefied. So she's her remains until literally all of the soft tissue has liquefied to the point where she's the remains that are still intact, she's floating. She's actually floating in her own liquefied tissue. So that's what he did. I don't give a damn about your shackles.
I don't
Damn.
think I could put it any better. Some of that video from our friends at Fox 11. Nemo Romani, jumping from Joe Scott's accurate and heartfelt explanation. What is the law on whether a defendant can be shackled, wear prison attire, you name it, in a courtroom?
So a criminal defendant can be shackled, certainly. Generally speaking, again, it's up to the judge. When a jury is present, they will not be shackled. It is too prejudicial. So oftentimes you won't see them coming into the courtroom because they will be shackled. They'll shackle.
Did it do it again? Is it dipping out
Oh
again?
yeah, it's been skipping. Yeah, it's dipping in and out.
All right, you guys. If that's the case, I think we're gonna call it a day here. If you guys want to watch the rest of the video, make sure you go check out Nancy Grace. We will definitely make sure that we put something else together. I gotta figure out what's up with my internet. Maybe I just need to get fiber or something. But that's gonna be it, you guys. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today. Joe from First Liberties, when are you gonna start making more videos, man?
I actually do have a free speech video coming out this week. I'm sorry, I haven't been home. There's a reason. I haven't been home a lot. At all.
No worries.
But yeah,
no
you'll be
worries.
hearing more from me later.
Make sure you guys go follow First Liberties podcast. We'll make sure. Let me go ahead and find his channel real quick, and then we'll put his channel in the chat.
I actually think all your followers have subscribed, or everybody here has subscribed to me already. But I appreciate you.
Oh, we got to get you more. So we're going to drop his link in the chat really quick. Make sure you go follow Joe at First Liberties podcast. And, the next time we have another show, hopefully, maybe we'll do another live later. We'll see.
He's working. I'll hit you up later. I have all. I'll stop later.
For all of you guys who are tuning in, thank you guys for helping me get to 2,300 subs. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll see you guys later. Thank you guys. Peace out.